Hello again, welcome to the second part of this part of my look at my friend's Talisman train set. It's been a couple of days actually, and in the meantime I've managed to acquire a new set of brushes and a new contact spring. So this should enable this locomotive to run better than it had before. Right, let's get this spring replaced. First of all, I'm going to remove the base plate to countersunk screws. Oops. Come on. And the base plate's there, and there's the spring, and if I just lift it out a little bit, you can clearly see how this end here has been reformed to try and make contact with the wheel. It's held in place with this big blob of solder, so I'll have to try and solder the new spring onto the wire. First of all, desoldering. Carefully, I don't want solder splashes all over the place. I should have taken the spring out of the packet to have it ready. No matter. Anyway. Here's the new spring. It looks as if it's been bent slightly in transit, so I'm just going to reform that into the right shape, and then we'll try and solder it back onto the wire. So just a quick test fit, and that sits nicely behind the front wheel and the rear wheel. Okay, so let's get the wire soldered on. First of all, I put some solder onto the spring contact, and I've retinned the wire, so hopefully these two should marry up quite nicely. Okay, and a quick test. So draw the wire back through. Contact spring sits into the groove. Then when the contact plate goes on, that should sit perfectly. So contact plate in there, and there's a hole for the connection to prevent catching. So one of the screws in, and the other one, and then I feed the spring contact behind the wheels. There and there, and when I tighten this, hopefully that should sit nicely. Maybe move up just a little bit this way. That looks alright. Can I do another little quick test? Front wheels and the rear wheels, with very little hesitation. Excellent. So I'm just going to tighten these screws. Right, I want to replace the brushes now. And if you remember when I stripped the locomotive down previously, the only way the brushes would come out was by pushing them in the way, which meant the armature had to come out. So I think I'm going to have to do that again. That will actually allow me to tackle another issue which arose in the previous video, which was that the locomotive actually ran in the opposite direction to what I was expecting. So when I applied positive power to here, it went backwards instead of forwards. And the only element that affects that is the magnet. So I will replace the magnet in its opposite orientation, and just to make sure I do, I'm just going to put a little mark at this side so that when I insert the magnet, I'll put it in the reverse direction. So by pushing the brushes in from both sides, they drop into the armature well, and now I can remove them. There we go, one and the other one just in there. That's it. Right, that's the new brush, that's the old one. You can see how much longer the new one is, so the old one has been really worn down. So I'm glad I got the new set. They just simply fit in. I also noticed the reduced barrel end, which will accommodate the spring and hold it quite securely. So one on each side. Spring in here with the push foot plug. There we go. Oh, I remembered. Don't put that in just right now, because we've got another task to do, which is resighting the magnet. So I've kept it in this position, so I'm going to remove the magnet out and rotate it this way, and now this can fit into or across the armature. Take the bolt out, like so, in here, and then the nut fitted on the end. Right, so yeah, the plug. Right, I can now fit this plug back in there. Now this spring and the plug. There we go, there we go. Come on. That should be, I don't think the spring has sat over the end of the brush very well. Right, tighten this up a little bit. There we go. Right, now's the time to test. Sorry, I keep saying right all the time. Right this, I don't mean to. Okay, so I'll just put this on there, this on here, and apply some voltage, and that is now going in a forward direction with the forward voltage applied, and here as well. Before I fit the body shell, just a quick look at it. It looks in pretty good condition. There's just a couple of little nicks in the black paint alongside on both sides. A little nick on the double chimney. So I'm going to try and apply a little bit of paint pen. See if that will help. Covers that nicely, and just along there. So I'll finish off doing this and we'll let it dry, and have a look at the end result. So that's not looking too bad. So I'm going to fit the locomotive into the body casing. The tender loop fits through this slot, and there's a little groove just here, fits into that shelf underneath the cab. So if I get it the right way around, that's just sitting there. The groove sits into that little shelf, and that should just sink down onto the bolt protruding from the body case. There we go. And now the nut put onto the top, and I'm going to use my 5mm driver. Hopefully that will sit over the top and I should catch the thread. Looks nice, doesn't it? Right, a couple of little test runs. Very responsive. I think that looks very nice for something like 60 plus years. Yeah, really happy with that. So I'm going to finish this part of the video and the series and look at well, I've got the coaches to look at, I've got the track, and of course I've got the power units. So look out for another part in this series of the service request on the Hornby Talisman passenger train set. So take care everybody, see you soon, bye for now.